very pleasant good evening. It's time for Startup Talk from Indian River State College with Mr. Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Greg, and welcome everyone to another segment and installment of Startup Talk, the show designed to assist and help Treasure and Research Coast residents who want to start, grow, or accelerate their business. And as I always say, what a great place it is to own and operate a business along the beautiful Research and Treasure Coast. We will spend time during our hour this evening to highlight and create awareness regarding the very powerful and robust business assistance and support programs that exist right here in our community at our very own Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, and I have the privilege of serving the business community as the Regional Director for the Small Business Development Center at Indian River State College. Our show this evening, as always, is powered by the Small Business Development Center and our friends at Express Printing of Port St. Lucie. So, Greg, I see the radio station is here, the roof is on, the antenna is up, so you weathered Matthew.
That we did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Were you guys able to be on the air the entire time?
Most of it.
Okay.
We were off for maybe an hour and a half when it was really, really blowing. It wasn't safe to go out and kickstart the generator, but
Okay.
Cliff and Carol wound up doing that while I was asleep, and bam, we popped back up. And
Well,
actually, we were only without power for about 5 hours.
Okay. Well, nice.
FPL did a great job for us. So.
Well, I tuned into PSL. You were my eyes and ears during the storm. I was actually quite impressed with some of the television stations that stayed on with 24-hour coverage.
12 did a magnificent job, and we had an interesting way of bringing Channel 12 in because Comcast obviously failed, and so we figured, okay, how are we going to do this? Let's see if Verizon works. So I set it up just like I would an IRSC basketball game.
Okay.
And we knew that Channel 12 was going to be streaming, and it was beautiful.
Nice.
And it held rock solid for about 6 or 7 hours, and by that time Comcast came back, and it was great.
Okay.
It was great. 12 did an amazing job.
Yep. It was
They
nice
really
and good coverage and good support from the local media on it, and it was nice to have that kind of information throughout the evening. It was nice to have you guys around too. So it always a great service when that happens, and it's hard to believe it only feels like yesterday we were in the middle of Gene and Francis. So the memories came back
1 week ago today.
I know. So I knew exactly how to put the shutters up this time. I was all ready. So it was we were prepared. And I guess before we get started, too, I want to quickly mention that the SBDC, of course, is back up and running full speed. And the bridge loan, the governor opened up the emergency bridge loan. So I actually have already had inquiries, and we have 5 applications in the office currently for bridge loans. So it's nice to see businesses taking advantage of the programs out there.
Did it make any difference that President Obama had declared this a disaster area too?
Well, I'm not the expert on who declares what. I know the way I explain it all to folks is that during these events, we've got multiple agencies with multiple products and multiple services and assistance. The bridge loan is a state product and state support element. Offered through the Department of Economic Opportunity, and then the next real step to that, what works in concert with the bridge loan is the SBA loan. Now we anticipate the federal government opening up the SBA disaster recovery loans. We think in the next 24 to 48 hours. But the good news is we got some businesses that are well aware of the bridge loan, understand the bridge loan, and have a real need to use the bridge loan. And so we're working to approve and submit applications as quickly as we can get them. So again, be aware out there in the business community if you did suffer damage, if you did lose inventory, if you were closed for a number of days and you have a significant amount of lost revenue, you may want to look into and investigate a Florida State bridge loan. So anyway, that is underway at the SBDC. Any questions about all that, you can always call me. I've been taking phone calls pretty steady since Monday about the bridge loan. So you can get us at 462-7087. or just visit us at the IRSCbiz.com site. So anyway, we're underway with bridge loans. I'm glad you guys made it through. Where are we with Pioneer Sports? Did we get a little delayed with them, but we're back on track maybe?
Yeah, one volleyball match was postponed up until, till yesterday, as a matter of fact. And IRSC has a 10-13 record overall, 3-3 in the conference. They're in the Southern Conference, just like the basketball team is. And yeah, we're just maybe I think it's 2 weeks away from the playoffs for volleyball, and of course basketball will kick in.
Yeah, and you're all set and ready for basketball.
Ave Maria comes to town on Saturday the 5th, and then we'll have a women's game that we will do on the 7th.
Okay,
so,
Of
course, election night's the 8th, so.
I'm coming to the basketball game.
Well, actually, the basketball game is over in Bradenton.
Okay, it's fine. I'll go to Bradenton. Yeah.
The way this election's going, that's a good choice.
Yeah. And as always, I want to remind folks too that what a great opportunity for you and your family and kids to come out and see some college athletics and some real collegiate athletics going on. All the athletic events at Indian River State College are free to the public. Great basketball, exciting games, great volleyball. Love watching. I've always enjoyed women's volleyball.
You remember our starting guard for IRSC a couple years back, Jamie Anderson?
I do believe I remember that.
It is now Coach Anderson.
Wow.
He is a student assistant coach at Warner University with Joe
nice.
Sanchez.
Nice. With Joe.
Former head coach
Former
Joe
head
Sanchez.
coach here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
All right, so looking forward to basketball getting cranked up, enjoying women's volleyball that's underway now. So appreciate that update, Greg. And tonight, really pleased to have with us somebody that I have thoroughly enjoyed working with, very bright, energetic, enthusiastic, loyal, hardworking individual at Indian River State College. We've done a couple of events together, so I really enjoyed working. We have with us tonight Joanne Balsamo, who is the RCNet Nuclear Training Specialist. So welcome to the show tonight, Joanne.
Hey, Tom. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here and to go over this with you.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out tonight and coming by. The RCNet is a great program, and we're going to go into RCNet.
The show's finally gone nuclear.
We've gone nuclear. RCNet stands for the Regional Center for Nuclear Education and Training, and it was recognized that there was an aging workforce and international competition and natural attrition of the U.S. nuclear industry. There was a recognition that training programs would fall short of meeting the workforce demands, which is, we've had that conversation about other industries, manufacturing. We've talked about, workforce demands.
Sure.
So at the time, the looming workforce needs of nuclear technicians was going to exceed the pool of trained personnel and training platforms that simply were not scaled up to meet the need. So in August of 2011, I believe is correct, Joanne, correct me if I'm incorrect there, but in August of 2011, the National Science Foundation established the Regional Center for Nuclear Education and Training to address the impending shortage of trained nuclear technicians. And where might you think the National Science Foundation would house their Regional Center for Nuclear Education and Training?
Naturally, IRSC.
Naturally, Indian River State College. What better place to house it? So, yes, we are the home for what is called RCNet right here on main campus at Indian River State College. RCNet is housed in the Brown Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And Joanne is with us tonight to talk all about RCNet. So
Joanne, did you notice how when he was talking about aging workforce, he was looking at me?
I didn't want to say.
That's right, Greg. That's right. I know that is aging workforce.
Aging workforce. Yes.
So again, we appreciate Joanne is really just a standout super person and just been a joy to work with, pleasure to work with Joanne. And again, we've done a number of events. So again, welcome to the show, Joanne. We appreciate you coming. First, let me start. Got a couple of upcoming training events that I want to make everyone aware of. We've got on October the 18th. Starting October the 18th, we've got identity theft from you and your company. Learn the basics of where the threat comes from, which is basically everywhere. who to trust, who to help you, and who is not there to help you, how to take steps to protect your organization, both physically and electronically, and how to prepare for the inevitable and still sleep at night. So very timely course now, protecting that personal, important
especially
information.
in the wake of the Wells Fargo mess.
Yes, I mean,
Wow.
well, and I think again, I often think now with the whole cybersecurity issue becoming, kind of at the forefront now of even business conversations now. I think a little bit about this election and a little bit of the talk about emails, and I think to myself, what a better time for young people to understand what not and what they should and what they should not put in emails. I hope this
Has there been talk about email recently?
just
I've missed that.
just a hair bit of talk about email. So, the old saying, emails are written in ink, I think is that old saying that,
Yes.
So, really, I hope this has driven this whole issue home is be very careful what you put in a text and an email. Next, coming up on October the 18th through October the 27th, we've got basic Microsoft Office. Know how to use a computer, but looking for more in-depth knowledge on how to use the Microsoft Office program, this is the class for you. This class provides an overview of features found in the Microsoft suite of programs, achieve an understanding of all the programs and how they work together in the Office suite. Great program, very popular, taught by a great instructor, Mr. Bob Gibson. So that starts on October the 18th, basic Microsoft Office. We've got business insurance for small business. Again, I think that's a timely topic after Matthew passed very close by. Small Business Development Center and the EDI at Indian River State College in partnership with SCORE invites you to attend this very informative workshop designed for just about anyone interested in learning more about business insurance. Whether thinking of starting a business or operating an existing business, business insurance is an important tool in your toolbox. That will take place on October the 19th down at the Chastain campus. There on Salerno Road. And again, that class brought to you by SBDC and SCORE and is provided at no cost. And finally, another very good friend and supporter of our SBDC, Lonnie Koyama, who's been on our show before. Lonnie is the regional representative for the SBA. He will be teaching credit reporting for small business. That'll take place on October the 20th at the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce. The credit reporting for a small business module will train you on business credit reports. A small business credit report contains information provided by banks, lenders, investors, landlords, other business and government agencies. After completing the training in this course, you'll be able to explain the concept of credit reporting, identify the benefits of small business derives from a positive record of managing its debts, identify risk to the business from credit-related scams, and identify strategies for building and improving business credit. So again, October the 20th, taught by our good friend and colleague Lonnie Koyama at the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce. Again, brought to you by SCORE, SBA, and SBDC at no cost. So that's what's coming up in training. Again, the most important details to remember regarding these training sessions is that most of them are provided at no cost. They're free. There's never any cost to attend an SBDC event, or is there any cost to engage the SBDC in one of their consultants. I tell folks all the time, back when I was in business, had I taken the time to become engaged in and participate in these programs, I am confident I could have been a better manager, owner, and operator. Dr. Massey and the Board of Trustees have done an incredible job of building a very powerful one-stop shop for business assistance and support through the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute. The EDI, as we call it, is made up of the Small Business Development Center, the Business Incubation Program, and the Corporate and Community Training Institute. You can always get the latest on all those upcoming training events at irscbiz.com and check out that events calendar. And as always, a big thank you to the SBDC and their consultants for the work they do in supporting our business community. So there you have it, Greg. So anything else that we need to talk about that's upcoming?
Well, I think just looking at the SBDC, you have got so many different experts at all the campuses, really. I think it's phenomenal. I mean, you've got government procurement, which is its own separate animal there that's really difficult, but they'll guide you through it.
Yeah, I happened to run into an old friend and an old customer of mine back when I was in the equipment business, and we just started to chit-chat about where each of us was. I took the opportunity to talk about the SBDC, and he told me, he said, I've always, I was a veteran, and he said, I've always wanted to get my certification as a veteran-owned business. And I said, we do that. And he said, I actually started to work on that a couple of years ago, but he goes, it was kind of a tough process. And I said, no, we will help you step by step, walk your way through that process.
Awesome.
I love it when we can connect with someone who can take advantage of the help. So with that, I want to turn back to our guest, a good friend and standout performer at Indian River State College, Miss Joanne Bassamo. How are you, Joanne?
I'm good, Tom.
All right. So let's talk, Joanne, about RCNet. This is an incredible program. I've had the pleasure of getting to know the program over the last couple of years, kind of worked side by side with RCNet on a few things. I don't actually work within the program, but I get to see all the cool things you guys get to do. I was actually asked last year to attend an RCNet, I believe it was a training program, regular meeting of some of your partners in Atlanta, and I got to make a presentation about what we do here in terms of entrepreneurship and trying to sort of bring some entrepreneurial training mechanisms and skill sets to the nuclear industry to be part of the curriculum for folks that are in nuclear energy. So we can talk about that in a minute too, but great program, and I enjoyed that. But let's start with you, Joanne, a little bit of your pathway to the college and to RCNet.
Thank you, Tom. I've been with RCNet since it started in 2011. I'm an IRSC grad with a background in education. Started part-time with the RCNet program, and I'm now the nuclear training specialist.
Great. Well, I appreciate you taking time out tonight to come talk to us about what really is kind of a very unique, interesting program that probably not a lot of folks know about is happening at the college, but we'll get the word out tonight. So now talk to me about the program RCNet, Regional Center for Nuclear Education and Training. What's the mission? What's the design? The goal and objective of the program?
Sure, Tom. We're a consortium. We have 55 college partners, 100 industry partners, multiple other agency partners. And what we do is streamline technician training, nuclear technician training. We want to make sure that the demand for nuclear technicians is met in a systematic and unified way. And we provide the resources for that type of training, not only at our programs here at Indian River State College, but at our partner programs throughout the country.
So, so basically what you're doing is you somewhat of a workforce pipeline.
We do. Mm-hmm.
So you're helping provide the workforce for the new age of nuclear.
We are. We're anticipating that there is going to be quite a bit of retirements in that nuclear industry, and we're preparing the next technicians for those to fill those positions. Mm-hmm. We help with curriculum development. We help with professional development for our faculty. We do trainings on site. We have online resources. We develop resources that can be used in the classroom. We even go and talk about new technologies that aren't being used in the classroom but will be coming up for our next technicians. So things that they may encounter down the road. All so right. We try to anticipate those needs also.
So what is the connection between RCNet and the college? You're connected, but you're not part of the actual academics at the college, but you're connected.
We are a partner of Indian River State College. I know this kind of goes into some of the things that we're going to talk about later on, but we're funded through the National Science Foundation. And it was an initiative that was started at Indian River State College by Dr. Kevin Cooper and the Advanced Technology Department. And they were awarded the grant through NSF. Because of the partnership that we have with FPNL and our nuclear program. We've been in working since 2011, and we're headquartered at Indian River State College. So all of our main offices, all of our main operating is out of Indian River State College.
And again, talk a little bit about your connection. You mentioned it a couple times, and I mentioned it, the NSF. I mean, this is a very prestigious organization, the National Science Foundation, and they're the ones that basically created the center and then basically chose IRSC to become the home.
It's very prestigious. We're very honored to be able to call ourselves an NSF ATE Center. It's Advanced Technological Education Center.
Yeah, say that 3 times. That's right.
It's a mouthful. But we're very honored to have the center here at IRSC. It's a competitive program to even be awarded the center, to be able to operate and to be working. But NSF funds us. They're the ones who we supply all of our information and our reporting to. So very prestigious for the college, very, very honored for us to be able to do that with NSF.
Right. And you just got some good news, too, and some big news. You basically were renewed again. So that's all fresh off the press, right?
Yes, it's brand new. We're very excited. We got renewed. So with a grant, there's always a period, a sunset and a sunset period, and then you have to submit for renewal. We were able to secure a renewal and to actually expand our center. So we have always focused on the energy portion. Going forward, we're expanding into life and plant sciences, and we're expanding into environmental management.
There you go.
Oh, okay. But
yes.
But plant life too?
It is. It's actually, we're looking at isotopes and research. So not necessarily what you would think life and plant sciences, but we're looking into research that we can do for isotopes and radiological isotopes.
Wow, that's cool.
Providing technicians for them. What we found is with our nuclear curriculum is a lot of the learning objectives or the ACADS that we have overlap into these fields. So we already have the base built, and then what we need to do is build the specialty tracks for those type of fields. When we take a look at that, what that means is that maybe we have 18 credit hours of a degree already complete because we already have the basics of that knowledge done. And then what we look to build is the curriculum from best practices from partners or develop it for those other tracks that fill the needs for those specialties. Again, this was what we proposed over to NSF, and we were very, very fortunate. They said, yes, we see that need also. Let's go ahead and move forward with that renewal.
All right. And you mentioned earlier, which I think, again, is so impressive about this. If you go to your website, which is gonuke.org, there's a icon up there for partners. Very impressive list of partners. I mean, talk a little bit about some of your major partners, local level and national level.
Sure. We have partners here. We're a regional center, but we have partners that reach as far west as California. We have universities that are our partner. FIU is one of our big partners. ISU, we just did some professional development over there this summer at ISU in Idaho. We also do regional agencies. We're partners with NEI and ANS. In nuclear, it's all acronyms, but that's the American Nuclear Society and the nuclear energy industry.
So how did Idaho State come in?
They have a nuclear program. They have a wonderful nuclear program
Really?
and a modular reactor right on campus. Yeah, they are right there by the INL, which is out there in the desert in Idaho. We did a fantastic tour.
That's right. I forgot about that one.
A whole day tour of their INL, which was amazing to see the facilities and the first reactor breeder that was, live in the United States. So it was really amazing opportunity to go out there. We're planning another trip out there for professional development. I
want to go this time.
Yep.
That was a great trip.
Yeah.
I heard about the trip out there.
So,
I remembered seeing that plant. We did ball game up there. So yeah.
It was a cool trip. It was
Wow.
definitely a cool trip.
Now you work, of course, some of your partners obviously are academic partners, but you also have industry partners.
We do.
Very powerful group of industry partners.
All of our academic partners have industry partners, and that is what is so unique about our program and why we have built such a successful model. At IRSC, we're very closely partnered with FPNL, so our IRSC program partners with FPNL in order to build the curriculum, build the resources that they need, and also to build the pipeline that FPNL needs for their next generation of technicians.
So it'd be a natural that they would be very supportive of this program.
They're extremely supportive of our program.
Okay.
We interact with them on a daily basis with our programs. And then our partners also have the same situation with their industry, their local utility or their local nuclear partner. They also partner, and they also help feed their programs, and they also help feed their workforce and their pipelines.
All right, beautiful. With that, we're going to take just a quick break, and we will be right back with more Startup Talk. And we are back. This is Startup Talk. I'm Tom Kindred, and we are talking tonight to a very good friend of our program and standout performer at Indian River State College, Mrs. Joanne Balsamo. She is the RCNet Nuclear Training Specialist. RCNet is the Regional Center for Nuclear Education and Training. Incredible program at Indian River State College. hosted and housed at Indian River State College. We've been talking about the program. You were talking, Joanne, as we wrapped up. You were talking about the partners out there, and you were talking about your relationship with FP&L. Talk a little bit about kind of why they're interested in this program. What do you bring to the table for FP&L?
FP&L and IRSC have a very close partnership with our EPT program. We work very closely to build a class size to the needs of the hiring industry in our area. They help us with subject matter experts. One of the really unique things about the program, specifically at Indian River State College, is the flow loop that we are building with FP&L. It is an amazing facility that we have right there in our Brown Center. It's very high tech, and it allows our students to really learn in a nuclear environment, and our partners to really learn in a nuclear environment. So together, between IRSC and FP&L, there's a very, very unique and very, very strong relationship to build the workforce pipeline and provide resources for one another.
Yeah, and FP&L the other day, I was happened to be downstairs, and they brought in, I couldn't believe what the equipment they brought in that day. They were, I guess, doing some training in the building, but they brought in some massive equipment, real working. Don't know what it was, but it took a semi-tractor trailer to get it there, and then they had some of their equipment also out back. They had their emergency response unit out back. So really quite impressive, the partnership between FP&L. And, that's, again, I think that's something that I've always said, too. Dr. Massey does so well at the college is build those partnerships. So it really is nice to see FP&L, have such a presence at the Brown Center through this program. And, you touched on the facilities, too. We've got the flow loop in the building, which is literally situated in the building, which is, like you said, real-world environment training for these people. It's
really a neat program because we've had our students, not only are they learning on it, but they've helped build it also. So, and we have FP&L really in the building working on it. They're married to the program as much as we are. So, again, the partnership is very, very unique, but it's very strong, so that we're really out there meeting that workforce need because we're so close to FP&L. We know what the workforce need is.
Okay, what is a flow loop? Explain that, please.
It is. It's a bunch of pipes with water that run through it, and it teaches the flow of water, how to use the valves, what the pressures mean. It's what they're going to have to learn hands-on.
And it's also the environment, too.
It's
you're working in the same environment that you're going to see when you're in a power plant, basically.
It's the environment, it's the safety protocols, it's the procedures that you're going to have to do. There's control rooms, so it's the mechanism that they're going to be using to monitor a power plant. It's very immersive versus learning it from a textbook, which is black and white, and you're just looking at it. So it's a unique facility that we're able to offer because of the resources that we've been provided.
And the nuclear program at Indian River State College actually there's classrooms dedicated to the nuclear program.
We have a nuclear classroom. We have, again, that partnership with FP&L has been so beneficial. We have the SMEs that come out and help teach, so that the students are learning from their experts, people who are in the field. And these are the same type of teachers that we have at our partner schools across the country also. They have experts coming from their industry partner who are teaching their students. So they're learning from real world, hands-on people who are doing this, who did it on Monday and are teaching class on Tuesday. Right. So it's very successful model.
And how many schools are like you around the country?
We have 55 university and academic partners. Not all of those. I think there's 27 active programs. That number fluctuates, but I think there's about 27 active programs, and they teach different tracks. There's different specialties that they can do, but those are all focused on nuclear energy. Now that we're expanding a little bit more, we'll acquire some more partnerships that focus on those other fields that we're going into.
And as I told you, I had an opportunity, and you and I, Joanne, we worked about a year ago, I guess it was. Because I was in the entrepreneurship side of things, RCNet came to me and said, Tom, here's an opportunity. We want to infuse a little bit of entrepreneurial skill and entrepreneurial mindset into our nuclear technicians we're training. Because I guess, and Joanne, you can elaborate on it, but I think the theory was that many times engineers see things black and white, mathematically, and I think there was maybe a desire to infuse a little bit of that entrepreneurial mindset if they saw an opportunity to change something.
Yep, the problem solving. It's so very important. Technicians across energy and other fields, their jobs are changing, and it's very procedure driven. It's very follow the directions, but they need to also be able to think outside the box, and that's hard concept to get across when procedures are so important for safety. So Tom was able to come in and develop a module for us on entrepreneurship and how it could apply to the nuclear classroom. And it's not a skill that you would think a nuclear technician would need to know, but the mindset of an entrepreneur, the thought process, that solving, that's something that every technician needs to know, because they're the front lines. They're seeing these things. They're able to identify if something isn't working correctly. And then if they have that thought process of being able to identify it and then also problem solve for it, it adds value to their industry. It adds value to their company.
And it was what I found interesting about it was we got to go do a little research. So we kind of looked at companies where ideas had come out of those companies, where they were doing something in a linear way and following the procedure, but then someone recognized, well, here's an opportunity for us to either spin a business off, create a new business, create a product that we can sell. And so it was really kind of interesting to do that research and see where that happened in real companies, where people took the opportunity to think a little entrepreneurial and spin something off. So that's when I really got a great introduction to RCNet and to Joanne, and so I really enjoyed that project. Joanne, talk to us a little bit now about, what are some of the data points on this? How many people are you putting out in the field?
Sure. Because we have such a diverse population of partners, we've actually have over 2,200 students that we've placed with industry partners. So these are RCNet program graduates who have found real employment with industry partners working in the nuclear field. And what's really neat about that is that at first it was always just a nuclear technician or an industry power. Now, because we've grown our partnership, we have people working in fields like in the medical field because of their radiation protection knowledge. And we have people in other fields that weren't necessarily the program that they started out with, but because we're so in depth with our training, they're able to cross into other fields, and they're recruiting from our RCNet programs now.
That's something you don't think about, but the nuclear medicine, sure.
Right.
Well, and the broader impacts of this whole thing, some of the stats on it, nuclear energy powers over 19% of the United States. It's an integral part of the Navy. And it's a critical component in space exploration. So nuclear power is not just about a nuclear power plant.
And not just power, nuclear applications are growing. They're using it in manufacturing. They're using it in agriculture. They're using it in medicine, just like you said. And that's where our expansion comes into. It's growing phenomenally. And so there's growing needs for technicians with these skills and with knowing the decay rate and half-life, and this is not common knowledge, so there's a demand definitely for them.
And you talked about your expansion of the program. 1/3 of all environmental management sites have a nuclear component.
They do, yeah. I mean, even the decommissioning of a nuclear power plant is a multi-year process, so that takes know-how, and it takes knowledge, and it takes skill that even in a decommissioning, it's still worth having a pipeline program built for it.
Right. Nuclear industries, of course, you talked about what you put in the workforce, but nuclear industries account for more than 2.6 million jobs. So think about.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, and think about that. And that's probably growing.
It is.
Probably where it is today.
It is, and again, with that workforce that's getting ready to retire, the knowledge is getting ready to walk out the door, and that's why it's so important for us to have these pipelines and have our SMEs and have our partnerships and be ready to meet that demand as it's walking out the door. We want to replace it with the new talent.
Yeah, according to the numbers, again, the aging population, the natural attrition, the growth, somewhere in the neighborhood of 65,000 jobs, I think you told me, that are going to be needed by 2030.
Right. It's a phenomenal number. It's due to the growing of the field, the expansion, the nuclear applications that are being used in fields that it was never used in before, and then of course that retirement that's pending in the nuclear energy programs. That there's a great it's a real need. It's not a kind of need. It's a real need for technicians.
So when did the National Science Foundation get interested in this?
They're interested in it through their ATE program. They established the Advanced Technological Education program.
Okay.
There's multiple centers that focus on technical education throughout the country, and the NSF funds those programs to do research, find out what is the best practices, what's the best curriculum, how do we, graduate these technicians with qualifications and skills that get them jobs and make them employable. And then we identified the need for that same type of center in the nuclear world. And so we focus on the nuclear world.
Wow, that's great.
Go ahead, Greg.
I just, dollars. I mean, what can someone make as a specialist?
I'm afraid more than you and I, Greg.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's above average.
I'm sure of that.
Right.
It's above average, and I mean, most of these degrees are 2-year degrees, so it's above average for a 2-year graduate. They are graduating with a skill that is specialized and in demand. So. It's usually above average for the area that they're working with, coupled with the fact that we are so closely partnered and all of our partners are so closely partnered with an industry. It is an easy transition from that academic world into that industry world, making very nice salary.
I think it's. I mean, is it safe to say, Joanne? Of course, I don't want to quote. Data from the college, but I mean, is it safe to say that the vast majority of those that graduate out of the program immediately get employed? I mean,
they do. They get employment. They can get employment with our immediate industry partner, and then, like I said, our partnerships are growing. We have people who work in more the contract field and the outages, and they travel from site to site. So maybe they've gotten employment with some of those partners, and then we even have partnership students that have gotten hired outside of the nuclear energy field into the nuclear medicine or into agriculture because of the skills that they learned in the program. So even if they don't all get hired directly from their industry partner at their school, there are other industries that are looking for those skills too, and they're getting gobbled up by them also.
This is fascinating. Yeah.
Incredible program. Now, so we've talked about students, and the majority of what we've talked about, I guess, so far is the traditional textbook younger person that comes into the program, gets their certification or their degree, and then exits and gets a job. What about continuing ed? Is part of what you do, providing curriculum and education to educate and train those that are already in the workforce?
We do. FBNL and IRSC have an agreement that they will have some of their incumbent workers come back and earn certification through our programs. And then what we do at RCNet also is not just the student education, but we do professional development. So we provide training to the faculty, the ones who are out there training to the students also. And we really try to focus on some of the other skills that students may need. So some of their employability skills, we talk about teaching that to students. And then we also focus on emerging technologies, things that are up and coming into the plants that really this generation, once they graduate, they're going to have to know about these technologies, because even if they're not there just yet, they are going to be there very closely in the future. So those are the type of things we try to get teachers ready for. We provide resources, we provide curriculum, and we get them ready for those type of things that aren't just the technical skills that are already being taught in the program.
And that was the meeting I attended in Atlanta. It was a group of nuclear educators. Mm-hmm. And so we were, it was a gathering of those folks that were instructing in the area of nuclear energy. And so that was where I kind of took the message of entrepreneurship and gave them some thoughts and ideas of how to infuse entrepreneurship into their regular curriculum and classroom work. So incredible group of folks, you can imagine, very impressive.
So where is this industry going? What are some of the new things out there?
Some of the things that we talked about, we've done a module recently on 3D printing. Really, really cool 3D printing, 3D modeling. Really cool. If you've got a part that's broken down in a plant and you need to get it printed, you could laser scan it. You could then send the specs off and have it reprinted or have it prototyped. It's not ready for actual nuclear grade yet, but they're developing the technology still. But it's a really nice way to be able to say, this is my part that's broken, this is how it's broken. We can 3D scan it, we can then modify it, see if we need to fix it, we can re-render it. We've talked about cybersecurity. It's such a big issue right now, from big, huge tech companies to very small, little, tiny companies. I mean, you're liable with just a flash drive. So that's something that our technicians need to know about if they're working at these really highly sensitive computers that have access to these really highly sensitive machines. They need to know that they can't plug a flash drive into it from home because it could be infected with something. Real world example that's happened out there with some of the nuclear power plants. So we're talking about it. We're telling them, how to be diligent for cybersecurity.
And I realize that you may not have all the answers to this question, but in speaking to Dr. Cooper, I always love talking to him about the nuclear industry because there are some new plants coming online in the country. I mean, there's a couple
Vogtle 3 and 4 in Georgia is coming online.
Right.
Last time I pulled up, there's an app you can actually look and it'll tell you, but I don't recall. But I know Vogtle 3 and 4 are coming online very quickly. There were some licenses at one point for 30 new plants. I think that has scaled back a little bit now with
that's
some of the way the economy has faltered a little bit. But at some point there was licensure for 30 new plants to come online in the next 10 or 20 years. I think it's less than that now, but I know Vogtle 3 and 4 over in Georgia are coming online very shortly. They've been multi-year project and building away at that one.
And of course, the St. Lucie plant sends its power to Atlanta as well, right? At least that's what we were told by
they're
FDR.
networked, yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
So, one of the really nifty and cool things you guys did at RCNet was you actually authored a book, did you not?
We did. One of the skills that is really hard to teach in a technical program are the soft skills, the ownership and the pride that come from being in an industry for your entire life, for having a career in an industry. The nuclear industry, the workers, whether they're a technician, whether they're in energy, whether they're in another field, they're very proud of what they've built, and they should be. It's not an easy industry. It's not an easy field. And there's a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge that has to be acquired to be successful in that industry. And those are one of the things that are hard to pass down to the new generation. Sometimes that generation is very much, I want it now. I've put in 2 years. I should be the president. Sometimes we run into that, right? So we authored a book, and we worked with 9 of pioneers. We call them Mavericks that have history in the nuclear industry. And we had one who worked in Antarctica on the Nautilus, and we have one who did research. We've got male and female representation there to show that we have careers across different spectrums, and they shared their stories. It wasn't a technical textbook at all. It's their stories. It's their background. It's their history. It's why they love their industry. It's why, their field hasn't always been easy, but they've stuck with it for 30 and 35 years and 40 years, and why it's hard for them to retire because they felt like this is their baby. And so we really sat with them and got all their stories, and we packaged it in a book, and then we kind of provide some resources on how to implement it into your classroom that is so technical based, because you have to get that technical information in there too. It's so important. But then how to also get this information out there too, which is also so important.
Other programs, even like ours, the entrepreneurship program at the college, we do spend some time reaching out to younger folks. We've taken some entrepreneurial training out into the high schools and into the middle schools. You guys do some of the same things too?
We do. We do outreach. We focus on secondary outreach. We do it we do it here with Indian River State College in our local 4-county area, but we do it with our partners across the country also. To build, again, it goes back to building that pipeline. At this point, we're building a pipeline into our programs, which then builds the pipeline into the workforce. But we do events, we do conferences, we do that professional development, we develop activities or curriculum, any way that we get out there and show that nuclear is a viable, good field and industry, that you can have a future in nuclear. You can go to school for 2 years and come out with a good field and a good industry that is sustainable. Right. And again, so important for our students to know that.
Yeah, and what's kind of interesting about the nuclear field, when you if your workforce kind of ages in some fields, even manufacturing, it's sort of not, that critical. So you're short some employees, but if your workforce ages in the nuclear field and you can't hire anybody, it gets a little critical because then no one knows how to run the nuclear power plant.
Right. Yeah.
It's not something you want to call me one day and say, Tom, we need somebody to fill in over here at the power plant. Could you come help?
Climb that ladder for us,
right.
please.
Where is Cortana when we need her?
Or Siri.
So I mean, you're really, RCNet is really kind of at the forefront of really helping to eliminate a risk of serious shortage in this industry.
And that's the point of RCNet is, even though the demand may not be there right this moment, that demand is coming because of the retirement numbers, because of the growing in the field, because of the growth of the application of nuclear. That demand is coming down the road. And if you're exactly right, if we're not prepared, it takes 2 years to train these technicians and to train the nuclear workforce. We're 2 years behind if we're not getting ready for it right now. Right. And so that's exactly what we're working on.
All right. How does one get a little more information on your program?
Sure. We have all of our resources and contact information. You can go right to our website at www.gonuke.org. Contact information is there. You're welcome to take a look at it, download resources. Those modules that I talked about, those are available on there. Also, we provide our resources public out there.
So if you had a say a high school teacher who wanted to inject a little nuclear education, they could go on the website, get some modules. They do.
One of the ones I didn't get a chance to talk about was our robotics. It's really, really popular right now. It's got a really cool activity with these little tiny Ozobots that talks about how robotics work. It gives a way to how to use it in the classroom. It's inexpensive. And then it has tons and tons of nuclear applications so that you can go through and say, not only are we learning about robotics, but this is how the robotics are actually being used in the nuclear field today, right now. This is what they're doing with them. And then also what you can do with the future of them. So really, it's kind of a fun module. It's really neat with the activities. All of our modules have those activities, some kind of hands-on activity, but particularly fond of that robotics module.
And I guess a final question, you talk about, and even on your website, there is a job placement assistance. So if someone had the training and had the certification and was looking for a job, you actually will help those people too.
We do.
You not?
We have a resume
right,
bank that we collect, and you can go ahead and as a student you could upload your resume, and we'll even help you. We've got some resume writing resources that tell you how to write a nuclear specific resume, cover letter, what you should prepare for your interview, and all of those are nuclear specific so that you're tailoring it to the interview, the industry that you're targeting to get a job. And then we have the board. You can go on there and post your resume on the board, and then we've allowed access, secure access by hiring managers who can then go in there and kind of look around and browse those resumes of people who are looking for them.
So RCNet truly is, a one-stop shop. I mean, you're A to Z. You're creating the curriculum, you're training, you're placing, you're supporting the academic institutions. So I mean, you really are the one-stop shop in nuclear education.
We're trying really hard to turnkey, to provide that box with the bow and say we want to be helpful. We want to be out there and provide those resources to these programs.
Okay. See, Greg, unbelievable. Did you know about RCNet, Greg?
No,
at Indiana State College?
Never heard of it. Yeah. This is amazing.
I know.
It really is.
Great program. Joanne, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate what you do at the college, and I appreciate the hard work, and I've always appreciated your support of our entrepreneurship program and all we do, and so it's been a real pleasure working with you and getting to know you over the years. So thank you for coming out tonight. I'm sorry I waited so late to have you on. Episode 62. You should have been in the top 10. You should have been in the top 10 episodes,
that's
Joanne.
Fine. I'm coming back for the 100th anniversary.
Well, we're bringing everybody back, Joanne.
I want my 30 seconds.
Right, we're bringing everybody back for the 100th episode. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us for another segment of Startup Talk. I want to thank Mrs. Joanne Basamo tonight from RCNet for coming out, and remind everyone that all the business assistance programs and resources discussed on this segment are available through Indiana River State College's Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute, engaged at every stage of enterprise. For more information on the EDI, its programs, and a complete listing of upcoming business training events, please visit irscbiz.com. That's irscbiz.com. As always, I want to thank Greg. Thank you, Greg. And our partners here at WPSL, WSTU, and WPSL TV. I want to thank the SBDC at IRSC, and as always, thank Michelle Abaldo and her team at Indiana River State College's Office of Institutional Advancement. So with that, Greg, we will wrap up another episode and segment of Startup Talk, and got a big guest now coming up next week to talk about some big happenings at Indiana River State College. So you're going to want to definitely tune in next Thursday night.
Nothing like having the Prez on board.
That's
huh?
right. All right. Good evening, Greg.
Hey, you have a real good night. And this has been Startup Talk with Tom Kindred, right here on WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world, and WSTU Stewart, Martin County's Heritage Station.